so people put sales and marketing together, and we have this like war on unicorns because there's no such thing as magical marketing,
Right.
Which is what we run into with companies often is they bring us in an emergency situation. They want marketing to save the day. They expect it to bring in, so you're giving us a little bit of relief, right? On the marketing side, it's like, hey, your awareness, lead gen, those types of things, but don't give me the relief. Like, where is it that you see the marketing and sales relationship has to be incredibly strong? Like, what is it where's the reliance that, sales is like, should be leaning more heavily into marketing, where you see marketing, doesn't do what it needs to do from the sales team's perspective?
Yeah. So, from the way that they lean into each other, that's one thing that Liger does, unbelievably. I mean, we're talking about your beautiful new location here.
Yeah.
I mean, I even said, when I walk in, I want to tell you how it makes me feel, right? And when you get to that point with your brand, when you're talking about your brand and how you're communicating your value proposition, all of those things, which tie into the website and the colorations and all of those things, that really identify who Liger is in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And you can start to build that connection with your potential prospect. That's huge for sales, because you have the opportunity, and I know my partner, Dan Jordan, he loves it when I use this word, but we really have the opportunity to leverage, what we're doing on the marketing side to help us show the value and the value proposition to our prospects, on the sales side.
Yeah.
And so that's when it's working well.
Today on the call, I was joined by Crispin Cruz with Sales Arbiter, and we talked about sales and marketing and how they may be listed and talked about together, but they're really two different things. There is a 7-step or 7-part process to sales that you probably only have a couple of those pieces working. So tune in and find out where you can support and augment your sales team and make sure that they're going to be successful moving you into this year and beyond. Welcome to the call. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Visionary Partners of Liger Partners. This is the marketing podcast for C-suite executives. I am joined today by a good friend, Crispin Cruz. He is the CEO of Sales Arbiter.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So we're going to do that thing where, sales and marketing gets lumped together into one big old thing.
That's right.
And Crispin and I are going to try to set the record straight.
Yeah, that's it.
So
that's good.
Really, what is sales and what is marketing? And today we're going to focus a little bit. If you want to find out what marketing is about, you have to go watch the Sales Arbiter podcast.
That's right.
That's where we had that conversation.
That's right.
Today we're going to talk a little bit more about sales.
Yeah.
So, where sales begins versus where marketing is. What are some good tactics? As you and I have discussed.
Sure.
Not my favorite topic. Like, I like 95% of a company, and sales is the thing that's been sort of over my head.
I got it.
You've done a great job of assisting and teaching me how to do it in a better way.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And glad to be here. So, when we start to talk about sales, I get excited, of course, because that's where we live.
And I'm like, la, la.
Because that's where we live. But I'm going to back up. Eric, I'm going to put some pressure on you today. I hope you're okay with that.
That's okay, good.
Because, I told you before we came in here, I said, you better have your dukes up.
That's right.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, every salesperson out there is saying, marketing, it's this thing. And that thing is supposed to drive good leads to us to be able to close. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what every sales guy thinks, or every sales gal thinks, is if the marketing program is working correctly, then it's driving good leads to me, so then I can close more business and make more money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So when we look at that, piece of it, and we start to talk about, okay, how does that marketing piece work to enhance kind of my life, because the world revolves around me.
Yes.
As a sales.
Yes, person. I have learned that over
here. Right. Every salesperson says, "Hey, world revolves around me. I'm the center of the universe." Right. So how is that going to help me grow? My career, my business, my compensation, all of those things. right? And so, but marketing is one component of that. And now I heard a big like like boo, like
yeah.
in the audience,
Yeah.
right? Because they were ready for me to give you the not only the uppercut but the right hand, the right punch too. But it's true. You have to. I always say that there's 3 legs of this sales stool. Okay. So the first one is, yes, as a sales professional, I would love to have inbound leads that are warm, if not hot.
Right.
That, a couple layups here and there, that helps.
Yeah.
Right? Because I want to be able to talk with people that, and we call it, that are in their buy cycle, that are looking for our product and service at this moment in time. Now, if your marketing program does that for you, God bless you.
Right.
I mean, because those, even if it's only a few a month, okay, or a couple a week, or a few a week, whatever that metric looks like, those are great opportunities to get into the pipeline quickly, engage with your prospect, talk with them about what their need structure looks like, and really uncover the compelling reason for them to do business with you.
Right.
Right. And then close them.
Order taking.
Right.
The salesman's dream.
Yeah, it's a salesman's dream, right? So a few of those, great to haves, right? The second piece, it may be a little bit more difficult, but still a good place to live, is with your current client base, right?
Oh, you mean you could sell new stuff to your current client base?
Yeah, so
What
more
a novel concept.
more products and services to your current clients, which is a great opportunity for you to go back and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I don't know if you knew this, but we also do A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
Right? And you're already purchasing, E from us. Maybe you should look at these other options and see. And if we're, we've been together for X amount of years, whatever that looks like, you may be purchasing these products and services from one of our competitors.
Right.
Maybe you didn't know that we did these things, whatever that sounds or looks like. But at least you're driving an opportunity to get a referral from your current client.
And if you own a business and you think about going back to your customers and what you're charging them, and you could get a 10% lift across all of your customers, it's probably not a lot of money to them.
No.
A negligible amount of money to them. But to you, think about top line and bottom line.
That's
just
right.
10%.
Huge, right?
Huge.
That's a needle mover. And so going back to that, and then let's just say they give you a no. You know what, Eric? I know you do A, B, C, and D now, but we're really not there. We're very happy with E. We're very happy with what you're doing with us, right? But we're just not there yet. And so, okay, great. Then ask the question, who else might you know, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, that could use our products and services at this moment in time?
Yeah.
Ask for a referral from your best client, right? Or your best customers. And we don't do that. We don't do that systematically. We don't actually put it in our calendar. Okay, ask ABC company for referral when you talk to them on Thursday at 10 a.m. Plan it. Make it happen. I'm a visual person. So if I see it in my calendar, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I do what my phone tells me every day.
Right.
It's just more because that's how my life is. But yeah.
And if you're old school and you write it down
a calendar
on a piece of paper,
right?
There's still a notepad and a pen that some people use, right?
Yeah.
But if it's part of your to-do list, then write it down. Say, I'm gonna ask for 2-3 referrals today. Just make it part of your process.
So then talking back to your 3-legged stool example, so there's the potential of inbound leads coming from marketing efforts.
Yep.
They're selling new stuff to existing customers.
Right.
And asking existing customers for new customers.
That's right. Okay. And then that's the second leg, really, because that's the same.
Okay.
Right? You're still engaging with your existing customer to try and get them to either give you a referral or to sell new opportunities.
Okay. So one is marketing's bringing you something that you can sign. The second is what can you do with existing customers? Either sell them something new or find a referral to maybe a new customer out of that pool.
Correct.
Okay.
And then third, nobody likes this, Eric.
All right. What is it?
They might turn it off right here.
Oh, no.
But it's organic growth. And what that means is prospecting, cold calling.
That's such a nice word you used, organic, which is really like cold calling, which is like the scariest word ever.
I know. Get your ass out there and do some real heavy lifting and some work and try and target a specific market vertical.
Yeah.
And go after it and make cold calls, prospects, send prospecting emails if you have that information. There's plenty of resources out there that you can use right now to find, your target list of individuals.
Yeah, and so people put sales and marketing together, and we have this like war on unicorns because there's no such thing as magical marketing,
right?
Which is what we run into with companies often is they bring us in an emergency situation. They want marketing to save the day. They expect it to bring in, so you're giving us a little bit of relief, right? On the marketing side, it's like, hey, your awareness, lead gen, those types of things, but don't give me the relief. Like, where is it that you see the marketing and sales relationship has to be incredibly strong? Like, what is it where's the reliance that, sales is like, should be leaning more heavily into marketing, or you see marketing, doesn't do what it needs to do from the sales team's perspective?
Yeah. So, from the way that they lean into each other, that's one thing that Liger does, unbelievably. I mean, we're talking about your beautiful new location here.
Yeah.
I mean, I even said, when I walk in, I want to tell you how it makes me feel, right? And when you get to that point with your brand, when you're talking about your brand and how you're communicating your value proposition, all of those things, which tie into the website and the colorations and all of those things, that really identify who Liger is in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And you can start to build that connection with your potential prospect. That's huge for sales, because you have the opportunity, and I know my partner Dan Jordan, he loves it when I use this word, but we really have the opportunity to leverage, what we're doing on the marketing side to help us show the value and the value proposition to our prospects, on the sales side.
Yeah. And
so that's when it's working well.
Yeah. So when you walk in there, you're sort of, it's how the brand looks, and you don't want it to get in the way. Like, that's one of the things that I talk to people about is like, well, you may have not made the sale because they went and looked up all your stuff and you didn't have a presence, or I couldn't find things on it. Your reviews were bad, like things like that. Like, those are the kind of things that we solve for. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. And my favorite part, I like to make brands look good and
of course
put them out there wherever they need to be. And so then getting into sales. So, sales is always, and I've told you, I love running companies. I can do 95% of what a company needs done and then sales is my least favorite. It's my Achilles heel. It's the thing that is just like, it's painful to me, right? It's just a painful part of the business. And so as you start to work with companies who I suspect having a similar experience, what are the first things that you need to solve or fix, or how do you address their sales woes?
Yeah, thank you for that. So what we typically do at Sales Arbiter is when we're engaging with a prospect, first we want to see how did they get to where they're at today. And sometimes it's
like, how are you open? That's your first question. How the heck did you get to here?
And that sometimes it's the case. I mean, sometimes we uncover
how lucky could you be?
You were traveling down the road, you hit the ditch, then you went down the cliff. So sometimes that is the case, but in most cases, what we're trying to uncover is, how did your company get to the point to where it's successful, but you're not happy,
right? As
the ownership, as the leadership, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is really try to understand and really unpack, what's important to the ownership and the leadership of those organizations and where they want to go.
Right.
And then
did you ever find a company we're just thrilled with our sales?
Yeah, they say that.
Do they? Really?
I mean, some do. I was
very open.
Yeah.
It's like, nope. Profitable but not progressing. I mean, that's what,
And there are more companies that are profitable and not progressing. And so then, I had a friend of mine talk about this to me a couple weeks ago. And he said, boy, I'm still trying to figure out if this technology organization that I work for if they are a lifestyle company or if they truly want to be a leader in this space?
That is such an important question just in general. So, because I historically was doing operational work and working with founders and understanding what's the destination of this company. Is it a lifestyle? Because if it's a lifestyle company and the founder is really lifestyle, they're never going to work hard enough, honestly, to get the sales to where you want it.
That's right.
You got to find one that's like, more money is always better, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And especially in what's happened with, in 2020.
Yeah.
Is because if you weren't hustling every day in 2020, then you were dying.
Yes.
Because it took that hustle every single day just to keep your business afloat.
Right.
In some cases.
Yes.
And so
in almost all cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and I'm not here to say that there weren't some organizations or some businesses that grew dramatically in 2020, because they did.
Yeah.
But a lot of the middle market suffered.
Yeah.
And so when we went into those organizations, we started having conversations with them. Well, what was your best year? And they would say, well, our best year was back in 2008 or
Back in
2010,
1985.
right? Yeah. And so what did you do?
Yeah.
And we start to unpack that and start to talk with them about that, and we find out, you know what? They were humping it. Like, they were hustling.
Right.
They were moving. Like, they were trying new things. They were fluid. They were reinvesting in their business. They had the singular focus of growing their organization to a point to where it had never been before.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've got to find that, right? I mean, if you go into a business that's lifestyle and they're really okay with where they are and they're comfortable, right? They're comfortable, then sales may sound important. Like, yeah, we'd like more sales, but it's not a thing that they're going to necessarily address.
Right.
Yeah.
So we try to rekindle that, right?
Right.
We rekindle that relationship,
Yeah.
and then we figure out how to put in foundational processes, sales process that's going to help them to monitor and grow.
Wait a
their
second.
business.
There's a process to sales?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I've been told by some salespeople it's just like magic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how it happens. I just make a sale every once in a while.
That's exactly right. A lot of sales, especially the best sales guys, they want to say, don't you worry your pretty little head about it. I'm going to bring you $1 million to the business. You don't have to worry about that. But they have a process. Yeah. It's because they've tried and failed at so many different things that they put in a sales process. We have a 7-step sales process that we follow.
You're kidding.
Right?
Because I love process, right?
Yeah. And you know this because we're working with your sales team and implementing that process. And now we're meeting every week. We're talking about their pipeline. We're looking at we're making sure it's pipeline and not pipe dream. And we're holding them accountable.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we're giving them goals, and we're doing all of that.
So we're going to go to commercial break, and then when we come back, I want to talk through those steps. And because understanding that it's a process, and that was an epiphany for me, because sales had always, I know that other parts of my business are a process, right? Like you do monthly financial reports, and there are things you're doing that are along this continuum. And sales was always like, and then there's this little department called sales, right?
Right.
And not sure how they do what they do, and not sure what they look, but the fact that there are these kind of consistent and important things within that break it down would be helpful to a lot of organizations, right?
Yeah.
Because founders fall on two sides. Either they're really good at sales and typically pretty bad at operations.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so they sell a bunch of stuff and then they can't deliver it on the back end and that type of thing. Or they're like me, I love operations. Like, just give me how do I clean it and fix it? Maybe not so good on the sales side. So let's get back and talk a little bit about what are those 7 parts? Like, how do I know if I don't have any of them, where do I start? What's most important? Those types of things.
Sounds good.
All right. So we'll be back in just a second. You're listening to The Claw. This is a marketing podcast for C-suite marketing executives, but we happen to be talking to our frenemies, the sales people. Sales Arbiter. Crispin Cruz, CEO, is my guest today. We'll be back in just a minute.
Thanks so much for watching The Claw podcast. We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back to your Liger Studios news break. The Thriller Fight Club is coming to Atlanta on April 17th. Jake the Problem Child Paul is going head-to-head with Ben Funky Askren at 9 p.m. at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
However, this exciting fight pales in comparison to the massive showdown between Leo the Liger and Bjorn the Unicorn coming to Atlanta May 29th. This fight is so big that Mike Tyson was forced to cancel his match with Evander Holyfield to make room.
Leo and Bjorn have had beef for a long time and are finally meeting face-to-face to see who has superior marketing abilities.
This will also be Leo the Liger's first time showing his face on camera, as usually he is represented by his team of marketing experts.
Big things are coming for Leo the Liger, but can he step up to the challenge? Find out on May 29th exclusively on Liger Studios TV.
And we're back. You're listening to The Claw. This is a podcast of the Liger Partners Podcast Network. I am talking today with Crispin Cruz from Sales Arbiter, and we're talking about that evil, terrible topic, sales.
Come on. Don't make me mad, Eric.
Don't make you mad. Well, it's part of it, right? We're having the battle of sales and marketing. Like they lump us together. They put us in a room, right? And they never say, it's like finance and HR and all these other things, but then there's like sales and marketing.
Right.
And we're very, we think about the world differently. We have different language. You can tell if someone's more sales or marketing almost by the, do they want to teach you about it or do they want to tell you about it, right? Like there's kind of two sides of the coin. Yep. So before we went to the commercial break, you revealed a very sort of an thing for me that sales actually has a process.
Right.
Because I think I shared with you that I've worked with salespeople before who were just like, it's just magic, Eric. I can't tell you how it works. I just la, 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 la. And I'm like, okay. Which I don't know how to make magic into a process, right?
Yep.
But you talk about sales from a process perspective. So if there's 7, you said 7 steps?
Yeah, there are.
So 7 steps. Got to test you.
That's okay.
On what the 7 are. You're about to have to answer that question.
I'm
so
all good.
I hope you're ready.
All good.
And then is there a priority? Do you start at step 1 or do you go to step 7? Like how do we approach this? So if I'm being told by my salespeople, it's just magic, which probably means that I'm seeing sort of this up and down in my sales process.
That's right.
Where do I start? What does that process look like?
Well, it's great that, when we start to talk about process, first we have to back up before we even start to talk about the sales event itself and the process that we use when we're engaging with a prospect.
Right.
Because what has to happen before all of that is your company has to have goals set up, right? Budgets, right? To understand how they're going to grow their organization, how each of their sales resources are going to actually, what role they're going to play in helping to grow the organization, and then setting up specific key behavioral indicators on what you're expecting your salespeople to accomplish weekly and monthly to get to that yearly goal. So there's a lot of work, a lot of foundational work that has to be put in before we ever get there.
Yeah.
And then once we get that part right, now you can start talking about how does the actual sales process work when you're engaging with a prospect.
Yeah, and kind of to build on to this, because we've been working with Sales Arbiter for about a year.
About a year, yeah. Yep.
And I have always been really comfortable with sharing numbers because I learned that early in my career. Like some founders are like, I can't tell everybody the numbers because it would freak them out. And I'm like, yeah, you got to tell them the numbers, right? You got to let them know kind of where you are. But what's been interesting in our process is I knew what those numbers meant in my head and working with you to come up with, but what does that mean to the team?
Well, how does that translate?
Yeah. Like, what your annual goals are, what you're trying to get quarterly, like how do we break that down into little achievable chunks for the sales team? So,
right there is a case in point, Eric, is that even a marketing guy can learn how important sales is. And really how sales is the most important piece of every organization. There's nothing more important.
That's great.
Than sales. Yeah. So I'm glad.
That's okay. Marketing's always the last thing they add and the first thing they cut. So it's really training. It's really
that's
training.
True.
But
true.
Yeah. Somebody upped me on that. I was like, but go ahead.
That's right.
Okay. So first thing is I need to have goals and somewhere I'm headed.
And that's where we, everything, when we talk about Sales Arbiter for a second, I had somebody say, oh, so you're a training company. Well, that's not what we are.
Right.
Right? Oh, you're recruiting, you're a sales recruiting company. That's not what we are.
Yeah.
What we do those things. Yes, we help to train our teams. Yes, we help our companies to recruit sales, personnel when they need it. You were nice enough to invite me in to help with a couple of your candidates and vet them as well. And but that's not what we do. What we do is we focus on everything that's in that sales silo, right? Anything that has to do with sales and helping to grow an organization the right way. Making sure they have all those foundational processes, making sure that they have a sales training program, making sure they have a sales process, and so then we can see them start to grow incrementally over in a very short period of time.
Yeah, one of the challenges that I could see, because I've done a bunch of operational work with founders, is to establish a sales goal. Like it feels like you talk about a pipe dream versus a pipe dream. Yeah, pipe dream versus pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a pipe dream for them to even say, hey, I want my company to be at this point, because the sales part of it is so important to that. So you're setting this goal and you're like, well, I would like to do that, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm even going to get there.
Yeah, sure.
But it's the same thing of like, well, I'd like to own that car. I'd like to live in that house.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Like it's something
right.
for you to reach for, even if you don't make it every time.
Think of it, and I help to coach a lot of the ownership and the leadership in this way. I say, think of it as you're traveling to a certain destination.
Right.
Right. There are going to be stops along the way. You might get lost a little bit. I mean, there's going to thing you might get a flat tire. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen between point A and point B. Right. And so that's the way. But if you don't have that destination set in your mind, then you can go any direction and it won't make a difference.
Yeah, my analogy in that is that also being very clear about the destination. So I could tell you that we're going to go on a skiing trip, and you may be thinking about snow skiing, and I don't snow ski. I water ski.
Right.
So we both show up at the car. I've got water skis and swimsuits, and you've got lots of cold weather gear and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait a second, we're going skiing. And you're like, yeah, we're going skiing. So making sure we're all headed to the same destination.
Right. That's
really important.
Yeah, and that's the communication piece, and that's why when I knew that you were going to end up being one of our best clients. And I'm not saying that because you're here in the room.
Right.
I'm saying it because you truly believe in transparency, and you live that within the Liger brand and with your team.
Right.
And so when you're okay with showing your dirty laundry, and your beautiful home,
right,
at the same time, you're good.
Right.
It's those that we work with that we're still trying to dig and uncover and talk about. Let's just get it out there. Let's just talk about it. Let's make sure everyone understands. If you've done some really kind of stupid things with your business in the past, let's talk about that so we don't repeat that history.
Yeah.
Right. And let's really focus on what's made you successful, or at least let's remember. I was talking with a local agent here who is one of the top 3 insurance agents in the state of Georgia. Big agency.
Yeah.
Okay. If I told you, you'd know who they were.
Okay. And then I'd have to kill you.
So we're talking with them, and what they do is they're having a terrible time with what used to be called back in the day called X-dating. Okay. Which is going back and calling old clients and trying to figure out, why did you leave us, or why, or where did you go, because he's having a significant amount of attrition.
Right.
Okay. And so I said, well, how much time are you investing in that today? How much time are you investing in doing that? And he gives me like some small percentage.
Right.
And I said, so let's go back to your best year ever, right? When was that? And so we started to unpack that and talk about that a little bit. And I said, well, let's go back to that little thing that we talked about, X-dating. How much time? 50% of his time or something.
Right.
Right. And I said, so help me understand this. What made you successful in your best year ever, now you're just doing a small percentage of that?
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense, right?
Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I mean, we'll work with companies and we're doing content, and they don't see a direct result necessarily, but they're seeing sales, they're seeing increased awareness, and then we stop doing the content, then they're like, see, nobody misses it, or like, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works at all, right? Like, it's just because you stop doing it doesn't mean it wasn't being effective.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get to the point where he says, well, can you help me with that? And I said, yeah, but it's going to be painful.
Right.
I mean, it is. There's going to be because it's going to be a significant change to how you're doing business today. Because now you're focusing 80 or 90% on all of this other stuff, when we really need to start to get back to the basics on how you grew your business, and when you were, what we talked about, in that last segment, when you were really hustling to make it happen.
Yeah, and it is such an interesting, I always feel with sales and marketing, and it depends on the client and where they are, but it's one of those, both of us end up with the clients who are like, I probably called you too late and I need to see results now. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, but like if you went to the gym today to lose 100 pounds of weight, would you have lost it by tomorrow? Like, would that have happened? Because it wouldn't have.
Right.
And there has to be a patience with both sides of this to get it to the right point without, I have had a tendency, and you know this from my history, to hang on to sales things, salespeople, sales processes that weren't working, right? Because I was like, I'm trying to give it time.
Right.
But you kind of have to know, and having the goals and having some of those metrics in place help you understand when to cut bait.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. So back to the process. So that 7-step process that we talked about, we do, it is sequential.
Okay.
So,
so you do start at 1.
The first step is the first step, and the 7th is the 7th. And some of these concepts are being taught by a lot of sales professionals out there today. I would say 5 of the 7 steps, even if you went to a $299 like 1-day training class, they're going to touch on probably 5 of the 7. Okay. The 2 components in this sales system that are critical and that really that really are specific to the way that we sell, the other guys aren't doing.
Okay.
And so that's really the secret kind of sauce.
It's the magic.
It's the magic. And why they're not doing it, I'm not sure, Eric, because when we start in any sales event, you want to bond and report with someone. You want to try to understand who
they have to like you.
They have to. I know. It's painful, isn't it, Eric? I know. I could hear it. I could hear it in your talk track. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to like you.
Okay.
And so people buy from the people that they like, that they trust, and that are like them. And so what we do is we weaponize this little thing called DISC. And if you haven't heard of it, look it up. There's this new thing called Google. I'm sure you've heard of it. So DISC. And what we do is we teach our sales reps to weaponize DISC. And what I mean by that is to really follow those breadcrumbs when you're trying to bond and rapport with someone, to try and understand what behavior type are they.
Yeah.
And is the more information that you can get about an individual's behavior type and who they are, or what they like, and the more you can align yourself with them, the more successful you're going to be.
Yeah.
Because if they think that you're like them, you're one of them, you're one of us, right? Then you're going to have a much more successful path through the whole event.
Yes. And you're also going to either make it shorter or make it longer, depending upon how much they need.
That's right.
Because I'm a D and I love to sell to a D.
I know.
It's like,
because you get right
doing this, doing no, okay, great, statement work. Let's move on, right?
Let's go. Yep.
Most people don't do that, so
right.
And it's all you want to talk to me again?
I know.
Really? So
I know. And you're just like, come on, I've got the need, I've got the money, and I want your service. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah. And those are the people that you like to sell to as well, right? I love selling Ds, because the only thing that you need to do with a D is not convince them, but get them to understand or realize that you can solve their problem.
Right.
And as soon as they figure out, hey, this guy can solve my problem, they've got the money, they already know they have a problem that they need to fix. And so you're the guy.
Yeah.
They don't want to waste their time with going through this whole, shooting match with somebody else. They just don't want to do it.
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
So much tied into that. But yeah, okay. So,
Right.
So step one is
bonding and rapport.
bonding a rapport. Who am I selling to?
Who am I selling to?
Yeah.
Step two is laying the foundation, is really making sure that you're staying in control of the event and you're letting the prospect know this is what's going to happen next. So Eric, as we're meeting today, we're going to go through A, B, and C. You had some interest in C as well, as we talked about. I wanted to talk a little bit more about what Liger does and how we can help, how we think we may be able to help you. But at the end of our time together, I'd like to know if you would give me, if you'd feel comfortable giving me a yes or a no or a clear future. And clear future means, that we're going to get to a yes or a no in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Now that is a very shrunk down version of what that would sound like in the real world. And we're going to put a lot of softening statements behind that, and we're going to customize that, for your market or for your company, right?
Yeah, and what's great about that is that people believe they want freedom, that they just want to be able to do whatever, and we really like boundaries. We like to know what the rules are. We like to, and as the person coming in, you're establishing this set, like we're going to do the following things. This is what it's going to look like. This is what's going to happen next.
That's
and you're
right.
preparing them for that question.
Yeah, and
Right.
so you're laying down kind of that set of rules at the very beginning of the engagement, so then your prospect knows this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Throughout the time that we're together.
And if you don't want to play the game, don't play the game.
throughout the hour and 15 minutes, and if it doesn't work for you, you're exactly right. If it doesn't work, Eric, it's fine. We can part as friends. It's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
But we're going to teach, and what we're doing, even with your sales reps today, is we're teaching them to stay in control of the sales event.
Right.
And then we move right into the next compartment, which is really discovery. I mean, we're trying to understand what's the compelling reason for this prospect to want to buy our product and service today.
And is there a compelling reason?
And is there one?
Or are they just wasting your time?
And is it compelling enough for them to, and I wish I could pull my wallet out right now and you could hear it, blow off the dust, right? Is there a compelling reason enough for them to open their wallet and pay you the money?
Right.
Right? Because if there's no budget, which is the very next compartment, right? And we're going to discuss that as well. So after you figure out,
So
okay,
you've got rapport,
Mhm.
you've got setting the ground rules.
Yep.
Then you're doing some discovery.
Discovery,
So,
yep.
And asking questions.
That's right.
Questions.
Mhm.
Best salespeople ask a lot of questions.
Yep.
Don't talk. Ask a lot of questions. You talk about that like you taught me to bite my tongue. I
That's
bite
right.
my tongue all the time now. I think about Crispin. I'm like, I'm biting my tongue because Crispin tells me I should bite my tongue. And then by the fourth category, I'm to budget.
Budget.
Okay.
Yeah, budget.
I bet a lot of people do that, try to do that at 7
That's right.
or
They do.
never at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
But so you want to know, do they have the money?
Right.
Right? You have to find out right there in that compartment. Okay, here are all the things that you're telling me that are issues, challenges, frustrations, problems that you're having, Eric. Do you have the money to fix it?
Yeah.
Right? And so you're talking about budget right there. All right. And then after budget, Eric, let me make sure I understand. Are you the sole decision maker for this? For this?
Now I have to call my wife.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So then right there,
Yeah.
Right. So decision is the next compartment.
Right.
Is that next step? Are you in the right room? And now here's the problem. You've laid down the ground rules. Everything's good. You've talked about money, and they have it. Okay. And now does this person have the ability to write the check or to actually sign the contract?
Yeah.
Right. And if they don't, you're still in the wrong room.
Right.
So you gotta stop there, and you gotta get the decision maker involved in some way. Can we bring John in? Can we bring Josie in? Can we bring in whoever else needs to be part of this decision making process?
So the budget is before decision maker. Is there a reason for that? Is it, or would you do decision maker and then why wouldn't you do budget after decision maker?
Because budget will actually give you a small indication on whether or not you're in the right room as well.
Okay.
So it kind of flows as
Okay. So if I don't know, or I've got to go ask somebody, or what? Okay.
if you're not in control of the budget, if you're not in control of actually signing, the
check,
the
right.
check or the proposal or whatever on the contract, the likelihood of you actually being the actual decision maker go way
Very
down.
well. Got it. Okay.
Okay. So then once you find out, okay, this is the decision maker, then finally the sales rep, can fulfill themselves in the presentation step. So
Yeah, and that mistake I see made all the time. We work with companies. It's like, oh, we need to make sure we have a sales deck so the salesperson can go in and they can start to give their sales presentation. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, and you miss having now gone through your process, and it falls naturally because I used to own a research company, so we love to ask people questions and things.
Sure.
And you have these misconceived, like they could be asking for a completely different thing, or you could be leaving money on the table. Like
Yep.
if you don't ask those questions early, they could have a much bigger budget than you're expecting to solve the problem, or want you to take on a more comprehensive project.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And here's
So by the sixth step, I get to tell them what I do.
finally,
Wow.
because and that's the tough part, right? Is because most salespeople, in some even very seasoned, they want to just tell the prospect, here's everything that we do, and they want to do that right from the very beginning.
And prospects are used to that. Like that's what they're expecting.
That's right.
You kind of push that down, which also builds some anticipation.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
are you gonna ever tell me what you do?
I know. But what we're doing in that presentation step, we're not loading them full of facts and figures and educating them on what we do, and giving them every single item on the Chinese menu, right? We're only talking about what's important to the prospect, and solving what they told us or what we discovered when we were talking with them in the discovery compartment.
Yeah.
when
Because
we
trying
were
to sell them everything, you may not sell them anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you will, and a lot of times what happens is sales individuals, we throw as much as we can on the wall and hope that some of it sticks. Man, that was a great presentation. They think to themselves, wow, that was a great presentation. I know that there was something in there that they must have been interested in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is the wrong place to be.
Right.
Right. So only focusing on what's important to the prospect, because they, as much as I like to say, I'm the center of the universe, I can't be.
Yeah.
When I'm engaging with a prospect, they're the only thing that matters
Got it.
at that moment in time.
Yep.
And then once we get through that presentation step, and it looks like we've got a fit, budget's good, timing, all of that, then they say, we're ready to go. What's next? We get them to sign. And here is the second component that a lot of people forget. And even though we do not want the prospect, or as a salesperson, we don't want to buy back tomorrow what we sold today.
Yeah.
Okay? So in what we call this in our system is post-sell. And so what we do is even as the contract is being signed or as the deal is being consummated in some way, and if there's an incumbent, this is a really, really important piece. Because, Eric, I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in deals because I forgot to do this, or I felt so confident that that prospect was going to move forward with our service.
Yep.
And then 24 hours from now, they cancel the contract.
Yeah. They come back and they say, oh, my current company will do it too. Yeah.
They'll do that, and they'll do more. They lowered the price. They did all that. So how do we combat that? We actually do, in that post-sale compartment, we do a role play with our prospect. And it sounds something like this, Eric. Eric, thanks so much for choosing Sales Arbiter. I think we've got a great thing going. Sounds like we can really help each other, and I appreciate you signing the contract today. Now, you had told me sometime back, that you were using another sales consulting company, or that you were engaged with somebody that was offering this, or you were looking at another company at the same time you were looking at us. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And ABC Sales, what was that person's name? You told me. I can't remember.
Dan Jordan.
Yeah, Dan. Okay. Yeah. I know that guy. So let me ask you something, Eric. When Dan comes back and he tries to drop his price, and he says he'll do anything to continue to retain your business, and maybe he wasn't getting it done, give him an opportunity to fix it. What's that conversation going to sound like?
Yeah. I'm going to say we've made a decision. We're moving on.
There you go. And you know what, Eric? I know you're a man of your word, so I'm sure that's exactly the way it's gonna go, and I appreciate it very much. And thanks for letting me know that. And we're really looking forward to moving, with you and trying to help you grow your business in 2021.
Nice.
Okay. And so, what did we just do? We actually role played that. So now, a week down the road, a few days down the road, the next day, whatever, Dan calls you.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, Dan from ABC Sales.
I've already made a decision. I'm moving on.
Right?
Right.
So that's what happens,
Yeah.
is that we've actually role played that with
When
our
you've got them past
prospect.
that uncomfortableness, right? Because a lot of times it's just being uncomfortable with even or having considered like, what am I going to say? Like, what's that conversation going to be? So yeah, really smart. Well, what's been great about our conversation today, which is an enlightening thing for me, because companies see, again, sales and marketing together, and they think by solving one, maybe they've solved the other. But sales is a whole thing. Like, it's got its whole cadence to it. It needs to be treated just as, as importantly as you do like your finances or anything else.
Oh, sure.
And it's seen as like this, either a seat or just, a little component of the company, not as a process.
That's
It's
right.
very interesting.
That's right. Yep.
So one last question, because I know you present this as like part of a submarine. So why is it a submarine?
So, because of every compartment, if you don't close the previous compartment before you move on to the next one, you're going to take on water.
you're
And if
gonna
you
sink.
take on water, what's going to happen? That opportunity is going to sink.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Eric.
We've been talking with Crispin Cruz. He's with Sales Arbiter. You've been listening to The Claw, which is a podcast for marketing C-suite executives, even though we talked about sales. But marketing people need to understand, like, this is a language, even though we're put together, that's different, so that if they are being held accountable for some sales metrics and things, there could be problems. Like,
Oh, yeah.
start asking some questions. Like,
That's right.
Figure out how to make that work together.
That's right.
So until next time, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Visionary Partner with Liger Partners, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Claw Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review this podcast. And if you or someone you know wants to make an appearance on this show, email us at yourbestie@ligerpartners.com.